Welcome. You're tuned into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Michelle Pope.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you out there in the virtual neighborhood of Life is a Sacred Journey. I am Michelle Pope, and I am the host of Life is a Sacred Journey. But when I say that, we are all hosting this journey called life together. We host each other whenever we come across each other on the sidewalk. We host each other when we're driving in our cars. And Leon, my assistant this morning, he and I were talking about all the drama in the world and all this anger and angst that we have towards each other, and that creates drama when we get into each other's space. So as we start this podcast, because I've brought one of my dear new sister friends to Life is a Sacred Journey, and she is a person of love and light. And when you meet somebody that is of love and light, all you do is want to talk to them. You want to hug them. You want to be in their presence. And so try today to be love and light when you go outside. If you're not feeling that right now, I get it, because I don't always wake up this way. Breathe, take a good look at yourself in the mirror, thank the universe, thank God that you're here, and then put a smile on your face and be like the little engine that said, I think I can, and go out there in the world and be love and light. Okay? Because we got to stop hurting each other, you guys, because this is it. This is it. Okay. All right. So let me tell you about my friend. I'm so excited that she's here. I've been ever since I met her, I told you about her on one of the podcasts because of these wonderful these earrings. And I told my children, because of my birthday recently and Mother's Day, I have found another pair of Kathy's earrings that I want, that I'll talk about in a minute. And so they're going to do that for me. But let me tell you a little bit about Kathy Kamei, because you need to know a little bit about Kathy before we start our conversation. So Kathy was nominated in 2020 as one of the top dynamic women. She is a designer. She loves animals. So that puts her like up with me. And she also is a philanthropic person and works with many wonderful causes that support women and women coming into their own. I love it that her personal mission, so listen to this, her personal mission is to support women in finding their voice, their passion, and a wondrous excitement for their best life. You know, I have a 23-year-old daughter, and I know how hard it is for her to navigate this world. She's beautiful, and people are always coming at her with sexually first, instead of just looking at this human being that has this massive brain and massive heart. Her physicality becomes more important than anything else. And so Kathy is saying, no, we want to support the voices of women that go out into the world and create beauty and nurture, and no matter who they may be, and no matter what they may look like, their size, their beauty, because we're all beautiful, you know, and it is in the eye of the beholder. Her work and life is steeped in deep acceptance. You know, when you're an animal lover and you love the universe and the world, you become accepting of all people and all things, because you realize that's the quest, that's the adventure. She understands that. And then, you know, one of my favorite places in the whole wide world, I've told you this many, many times, it's Bali. So we also have that connection. All right? Because she loves the Balinese culture. And I love the Balinese culture. It's a place that I want to live one day, even if I only live there for a month, because I loved it so much. So this morning on Life is a Sacred Journey, my friends, my beautiful followers, I want to introduce you to my dear, dear sister friend, Kathy Kamei. Hi, Kathy.
Oh, good morning. What an introduction. I'm just Oh, thank you so much. And I feel so honored that you call me sister, because I
Well,
take that very.
let me just tell you this, because this is how you made me feel. We were at the Women's Conference. It's a beautiful conference. They do it every year. It's magnificent. But that said, there's not a whole lot of women of color that attend that conference. Right now, they're trying to change that. And I walked into that space. Everybody else was in the conference space because I wasn't up yet. And I got there early enough. And you were one of the first people that greeted me. Not that people didn't greet me. I'm not saying that, because people stop twisting other people's words. Listen to what I'm saying. That other people greeted me, yes. But this woman came from around the table and said to me, "Good morning, you are so beautiful." That's the first thing she said to me. And I was like, the universe is talking to me this morning through this woman. And she's allowing herself to be the conduit of the universal power. And from that moment on, I was like, I got to know her. I got to get to know her better. And this is not something that I'm trying to say to you so that you can run off and think that I'm talking about racism, because I'm not. I'm talking about the fact that the warmth and the welcoming and the acceptance, and that is how we should be with each other. I'm not putting the other women down that were there. I'm not. What I'm saying is, though, Kathy gave me the gift of spirit. And so when she did that, I stalked her. I bought a pair of earrings so I could stalk her.
You're so cute. Well, I'm stalking you too.
So,
just
Kathy,
so you know.
That's why, because you were so loving and so open and so, and to tell me in a moment where you didn't know what I was experiencing in my life at that moment, you had no idea. And that moment in my life, I was going through something. And for you to walk up to me and just say, "Good morning, beautiful lady," I was like, wow, I'm digging this. So thank you. Thank you so much for seeing my soul that morning. But let's talk more about you. I just want to talk more about you. So Life is a Sacred Journey, family. Kathy Kamei makes this beautiful jewelry. The jewelry is thematic. She uses affirmations. And as I read to you, when I brought my box so that you could see, right? There's the logo and everything. And then in the box was this card, and you can't see it very well, but it says, "Be the change." So that's the theme of these magnificent, beautiful earrings. And it says, "In order to transform the world," Mahatma Gandhi said, "you must be the change you wish to see in the world. Like these words of wisdom, be the change pieces are a reminder to its wearer that when one goes into the world, they should become the shining example for whatever change they wish to manifest for the planet and its inhabitants. Don't be afraid to stand out and shine for what you believe. Change starts with action, not with words." And so every time I preach, when I'm pulpit supply for some of our pastors, I wear these now because they make me feel like when I walk into that space, I am trying to be the change. So Kathy, tell us your story. Why this? Why Bali? What put you on this magnificent quest of jewelry making, the hand making, the themes? Tell your story.
Yeah, thank you so much. I remember that meeting when we saw each other, and I recognized, what you said is, I recognize your soul. It's a soul connection. But I've had quite a journey. It's sort of like an eat, pray, love, Michelle, but it's with two little girls. Mm-hmm. So I was in Canada, 30 years old, and just in a somewhat very tumultuous time where I went through a very painful divorce, kind of had the idea that this was going to be forever and ever, and I was going to have the picket fence and the husband and the kids, and things changed. And so I felt just really in a very, very sad place in my life. So for my 30th birthday, I went bungee jumping, if you can believe. And the gentleman tied up my ankles and put me to the end. I'm petrified of heights.
Yep.
Put me to the end of the plank and said, okay, you got to jump. I said, I can't. I'm so scared. And he said, well, you'll never live your dreams unless you conquer your fears. And I opened my arms and I free fell. And that gentleman became a friend of mine. And I said to him, we were talking and he was opening up a place in Bali. And I'm like, where's Bali? And I'm from Canada. So I, had no, we go to Mexico, Cuba. I was like, where's Bali? And I started to look into Bali, this mystery place. And I saw all these women with colorful kabayas and fruit and prayers and green. And I was like, that looks so amazing. And I took my two little girls at the time, they were 4 and 6, to Bali for 6 months. And at the time I had a TV show in Canada that I co-hosted with the former Miss Canada, Terry Myers. And in TV, you go on a hiatus, you go on a sabbatical. So I went for 6 months and I actually stayed for 9 years because Bali was the most beautiful spiritual blanket I've ever felt in my life. The people embody love. They embody service, they embody gratitude, they embody spirit. And within 6 weeks of being there, I was offered a part-time job, which was amazing, at this wonderful factory that did clothing. And I said, I can work from 9 to 1 because my daughter was in preschool and I wanted to pick her up every day. And I did, and I learned the language and I embraced the culture. And I actually really learned a lot about myself. And I was very separate from family and had to really go through a very difficult custody situation with their dad. But I persevered with a vision and an intention that, bless you, that Bali was a place.
Sorry, my allergies just got in there.
That's a wish coming your way.
I know.
That's a wish coming your way. So Bali was 9 years of grace and 9 years of learning and 9 years of having family surrounding me. And they were my Balinese family. And over there, I was a single mom. And, a single mom in America or in North America is very challenging. Yeah. And a single mom over in Bali, I was very blessed to have a Bali family that took care of me, that lived with me, that really supported me in raising my daughters. And to this day, they're my Bali family. And they still live in the home that I built in 1999. And I just was free falling into the unknown, but with this knowing that I was home on this island. And when I moved to America in 2001, and I'd never lived there, I was like, I'm so excited. I'm going to California. It's going to be amazing. And I went through a real sadness because I very much missed my Balinese family and my community. And so I was like, what can I bring from Bali that can light up the world the way that Bali lit up my soul and lit up the world? And I started a jewelry line. I only had 10 pieces, Michelle, and I walked door to door and store to store, and I did a lot of philanthropic events, and the line grew. And, I had some disruption in business, as we do. And I was like, I remember one of my spiritual teachers saying to me, there's always room at the top for your vision. Be your own unique vision. And I would write down and scribble on paper what pieces meant to me. And like, your beautiful earrings be the change. Because I know you are the change. And it was interesting, Michelle, when you came up to the table, you went right for that earring because that was exactly the message that was calling you in. And they're so gorgeous on you. And
I love them. I just love them.
Yeah. Well, they've got such a shimmer and a shine, but they also have this deep personal message that's my, I think, legacy is just, how do I connect women to themselves? How do I connect women to their community? How do I connect them to their mission? How do I bring them back to their unique beauty, their unique gifts? And I agree with what you're saying, Michelle. It's a crazy time on the planet. I mean, I have to be so disciplined what I filter into my heart and into my stratosphere, because there's so many places where I can feel discouraged and sad. And just saying that, I feel emotion coming. But
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm going to Trojan on, and I'm going to do God's work, and I'm going to look for the glimmers, because there are many, many of us that want to do that and are aligned with that in our own way.
Yeah.
And there are many reasons to feel discouraged and sad, but there are also many reasons to stand up and to unify and to glorify as best as we can.
Yeah. And do you think, Kathy, because one of the things that I'm pondering, I journal, I journal a lot, and it's not like I sit down every day, but I have a journal next to the bedside because I'm a 3 a.m. waker upper, to commune with the spirit. It happens a lot. And so I write during that time. Whatever I wake up that's on my mind, I write. And, one of the things that I realize is that out of tragedy, out of pain, out of life experience that flips us upside down like the turtle, it gets flipped upside down. But out of that have come some of my most incredible moments. Like I went to Bali after being diagnosed with cancer and making it through that and all of that. And Bali just came up. It was just almost like a miracle thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going. And then you all of a sudden you go, well, wait a minute, why am I here? What's the purpose of me being in this space in this time? And then I realized what you said, Bali was the healing blanket. It was the healing balm that I needed at that time in order to realize what a gift. That experience, bad as it was a gift too, because I began to grow more internally to think about, who am I going to be? If I get the time to live, if I live through this, who am I going to be after? And how is this experience going to manifest itself in my behavior? And Bali was where I went. I went to Cuba first and spent New Year's Eve there and had a wonderful time, and came back for 1.5 weeks and left and went to Bali. Never have I done that ever in my life, but I believe that it was the pain of thinking that I was going to die and all that negativity that thrust me back into, because Cuba is a very spiritual place as well, into this like, go and be reborn. Did you feel that way?
Yeah. It's interesting, Michelle, and amazing for you to actually to notice and witness the call, because it's almost like you get a phone call. I believe spirit's always talking, always in communication, but we have so much noise going on in our lives. I have a degree in energy medicine, and we talk about the world kind of being the muggle world. Like there's so much.
Mm-hmm.
And your spirit is constantly talking to us, and it's talking to us in nature. It's talking to us through animals. It's talking through us in just even silence, the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And when we go through disruption, when we go through life riveting experience like that with your cancer and like that with my divorce, it's like we really do it's like a life review. And we don't know the gift if we have more time, or we don't know what the future holds. There's a complete insecurity. When I went to Bali, I had $3,000 in my bank account. I didn't know where to get milk, for my kids, or I didn't know where to take them to school. I didn't know anything. And I rode around on a little scooter, and I would wrap my younger daughter in the front, my older daughter in the back, and wrap them around in a sarong.
Yeah.
And I had no knowing. Just like you, but there is some freedom in a deep dive into the unknown. And it's almost like you reclaim your birthright to be an explorer on the planet. And I love when you said you journal, because we just did a retreat at my farm, and the woman said journaling is about waking up and noticing noticing what's going on, because I really believe there's a heart intelligence. I think the mind definitely has its place, and I count on it. But I think a lot of times the mind has a way of distracting us. So I try to go into my heart and notice the new day, notice the new opportunity, the new chance. And I don't know, Michelle, if I would have the depth of richness in my own life if I didn't have that experience. Because chances are, if I didn't go through that divorce and I didn't go through all of that, I probably never would have went to Bali. I'd still be in Canada, and and probably doing things that were more traditional and more conservative and more sort of, I don't know, conventional than actually going, you know what, I'm going to be going off to Bali with 2 kids and riding around on a moped. I mean, that is a big stretch when you think about it. Like, not many people do that. Sometimes I go, oh, I did that. I'm amazed that it was calling me in. It was, and it changed my life, and it changed my daughter's life.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And folks, if you've never been to Bali, I want you to understand that driving is the worst thing that you can do there on those little scooters. Okay, I watched the dogs cross the street, and I realized they were the best ones to follow, not the people, because they got the rhythm of the traffic down. And they've got these circle things that are weird, and weird only because I'm not used to them, not weird because it works for them. And you will see exactly what Kathy is saying. A woman may have her fruit basket on her head, her child wrapped here, another child here, baskets hanging off the side, and she may very well be on the back of this little scooter with her husband or her older somebody in the front, and they are either be scared to death, but they're just like, hey, how you doing? You know, so
they're like, good morning.
Yeah. Like, and they take their hands off the thing. You're like, what are you doing? But you know, it is an environment that is exactly that. It is, they are living. They're living in the moment. They're living in the time. You know, they advised us through the Bali Institute, which is how I got there, to bring gifts. They said, bring gifts. So I thought, okay, and I forgot. And when I was at San Francisco airport, I got like 20 keychains. I went to the thing, 20 keychains. And when we got to where we were staying, the Satay, I gave them out as people did things. And what I want to say, folks, the one thing that we can take from the Balinese culture is that sense of humbleness that they have, that is so pure and so sincere and so loving and so caring all the time. Even in a moment where there was chaos going on with luggage and everything, there's this smile, there's this warmth that I think is divine. Yeah.
Very
and they
much
give it so freely.
Yeah. Well, because they embody it. And I think that's the thing, is that we, I think as a human race, we learn so much from other cultures. We need to stop and listen. And if we have the privilege to travel and to see what's happening in other cultures, there's richness. There's things that may not align, you know, but for the most part, so many things that we learn about ourselves when we travel and we go to these different places. I remember I was so blessed. I had a neighbor many neighbors who I just loved. This one gentleman, I mean, he lived in a room and made out of bricks and cement bricks. And his name was Kutut. And they all have, you know, they all have like, there's Wayan, Made, Kutut.
Yeah.
They all have the same name. So if you're at the airport and you go Wayan, everybody turns, you know, or have the airport. But he had nothing. And I remember him always offering, could you come over for dinner? I mean, whatever they have, they give. And I think they have such a close, because the Balinese are a mix of Buddhism and Hinduism.
Yes.
So they worship the same gods that the Indian gods, the Eastern Indian gods worship. And then they have the principles they live by of Buddhism. And I would wake up every morning and there would be offerings. Thanks for the stove to cook. Thanks for the car to drive. Thanks for the home to live. And I think about the times where, I mean, I could get tears in my eyes, and that's very normal for me because I feel so big, but I get tears in my eyes when I think about how they've influenced my life and how they cared for my girls and my heart. And there's like nothing like it because that's how they grow up. They
Yeah.
are so they are so rich in spirit.
Yes.
It's not rich in money. I mean, there is that, but it's very, very seldom. It's rich in spirit, and
Yeah.
it's how they live.
It's
When they do the impacharas, the big ceremonies,
yeah.
they give all of their money to create something so beautiful to offer to their gods.
Oh,
And
I
it's such a teacher for definitely sounds like for you, Michelle, and for sure for me.
Oh, it changed my life, Kathy. And I actually came back with a vision that to take, I think inner city kids, young groups of inner city, and I'm going to, Black children is what I was thinking about, because traditionally, generationally, children of color don't get to travel. And they never come out of their neighborhoods to see that there's a bigger world out there, that they're not really stuck. This is just one moment in the sphere of their lives. And what if they had an experience such as that, like at 13, 15, 14, 15 years old? Would it change, and I believe it would, the trajectory of who they are and how they might look at themselves? And again, a lot of my mission work in my head and in my heart is to always look at those places where there's not equality, or where experience could change something. And I know, because I've been a life traveler, I was very blessed to have parents that realized that I needed to travel, that I needed to get out of the country, that I needed to see other cultures, to understand that I'm not unique. I'm unique in spirit, but I'm not unique as another human being. That's what I also learned. But so you took the inspiration of Bali and turned it into jewelry making, and you have some different lines. You have Be the Change. I wrote some Be the Change, Be a Light, Double Life, and Quadruple Life. So those are interesting to me. I'm at the beginning of my journey at Be the Change. I now am in love with the Be a Light French hoops. Those are going to be my next. But talk about double life and quadruple life, because that's interesting to me.
Yeah. So when I started creating jewelry, Michelle, I was like, it wasn't interesting for me to be a trend or a fad. And I love understated elegance. And I love when there's a story to something. Like if I'm buying a piece of art or buying a bottle of wine, or, going to a restaurant that's farm to table, where is it grown? Who's picking it? When do you harvest the wine? Who painted? What was the inspiration? So in my writing, I should have been a surgeon because it's almost illegible, but people would ask me, tell me about this piece. And I'd scribble it down. And then I'm like, there's a yearning here. So I really went into what was my inspiration. So double life is carrying someone with you. So my grandmother, Jean, was my best friend. She was the love of my life. And when she passed, I created a piece that's double life, that's actually carrying another life inside of your own. So they sit together and then you can pop them apart. So it's that feeling and knowing that we're always with those that we love and cherish. And then quadruple life, for me personally, I have 3 daughters. And it's carrying my 3 girls with me. So I'm the outer circle. And then there's 3 inner circles, again, they pop apart or come together, but it's that knowing that I bring them with me wherever I go. And, becoming a mother was, I think, for all women who choose to be mothers, and I'm in support of women who don't.
Yes.
I have daughters that are 34 and 31 and no grandbabies. And I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's really a choice.
That's
But
right.
when you become a mom, it changes your filter on life, on everything. I mean, that relationship, becoming a mom is hard. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's the most loving mission I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, jewelry is my mission. It's the modality is jewelry, but it's the mission of connecting women to these milestones in their life. Be the Change is really about you being your most authentic self and bringing that forward. Gandhi's life was very hard and very challenged, and he stayed stoic to his mission. The other one I love so much in my collection is Be the Light. And when I, and this is 20 years ago that it wasn't a marketing idea. It was Be a Light means the more that I can love and honor and carry and nourish myself, the more I become wasteful to that in the world. Can you find that time to journal? Can you find that time to meditate? Can you pause during the day, even for 5 minutes, and connect into yourself? Can you take that walk? Can you make a meal that you love? We as women so easily nurture outside of ourselves, but when we can turn into, we become, like when I met you that morning, Michelle, I saw your light. I saw your beauty, and it was organically easy for me to connect to you. I was pulled in because you mirrored in me that soul connection that I was also thirsty for at 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. You're looking to those connections. I often think the other big pandemic that we have going on in the world is that feeling of belonging. We want to belong. We don't want to be void of that. We want to belong to each other, no matter what our sex is, our race is, our color is, our spiritual choice is, whatever. It's like, can you see me? Is there a oneness with each other? And I crave that.
Yeah. And so you have earrings and necklaces. So talk about your line a little bit and tell people how they can find it. I've told them in the past, but please tell them how they can find your jewelry. It is sterling silver, and tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So each piece is handmade. It's sterling silver. It's 92.5 sterling. So there's no nickel or alloy that can cause allergies or itch or anything like that. The gold is an 18 karat, 5 micron gold vermeil. So it's got the look of gold, but it doesn't have the expense. Mm-hmm. And then in your earring, there's a rose gold. So we also use a rose gold some of the pieces, which is so beautiful. It's like I know it's so pretty. It's like a tricolor. A lot of my pendants are reversible. So gold one side, silver on the other. Oh. I work in both metals because at first when I started designing, I just do all silver, all gold. But what I realized is they really pop each other. It's sort of like the yin and the yang. So the gold really celebrates the silver and vice versa. The earrings are very lightweight, which I love. My rings are comfortable. They're like coming home. Mm-hmm. I took so much time to develop rings that were bold, but they're comfortable. You can wear them. Even my square ring, it took me 6 months to keep altering the design ever so slightly so you can wear it without even noticing. Then we have cuffs as well. I didn't see. So we've got a variety of designs, and people can find me on kathykamei.com, www.kathykamei.com. You can buy online. My favorite thing is the philanthropic part. Yeah. And my other favorite piece is women in business, because supporting, it's interesting at the beginning of the talk, you were talking about, you noticed that at the East Bay Women's Conference that there weren't a lot of women of color. So I recently did an event in Orlando, Florida that I had never done before. And I walked in and I was the minority. There were 2 white women in the room, and all of them women of color. And the woman who started it is just a dynamo. And she realized that there needed to be women business event that was specifically, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, but it was so phenomenal. It was called You Own It. There was so much of a depth of understanding for me spending a day. And I also had just read Viola Davis's autobiography, which I highly recommend.
Me too.
Oh my gosh, that girl. Oh my gosh. How
Amazing.
she traversed what she traversed, she's amazing. But what I really loved for my own understanding was to sit back and listen. And for a moment to build compassion and empathy and more wisdom as to many of the barriers that women of color face that I would never understand. And my younger daughter she is a woman of color. She's mixed Japanese and Caucasian. And she would say to me, Mom, you don't understand. And I'm like, you know what, Kenzie, you're right. Teach me, talk to me. I want to learn more. Mm-hmm. And my company is all about inclusion and women. And I have such reverence for the divine spirit, no matter what the encasement is. Ooh. So I wanted to speak on that a little bit because it really, there's a few times where I felt like, am I in the right place? Mm-hmm. And when I saw the sisterhood unanimous, and it was such a gift. It will be forever etched in my heart, that first all-inclusive women of color, women in business event in Florida. It was phenomenal. And I thank all those sisters out there for embracing me the way they did.
And you know that, and to you for being a follower of the spirit, because it takes courage, and to be in situations where you are the only one. And when you bring that light and you bring that, like you said, empathy, listening with intentionality and not judgment, that's one of my big things my mantra here at Life is a Sacred Journey. You will never experience the joy of another if you're judging everything they're about.
No,
that's humanly impossible. Judgment is the barrier to everything.
And you know what judgment does? Judgment and separation has this falsehood of keeping us safe.
Yes.
And we are raised in it. There's so many lines of separation on this planet. Yes. And I'm like, no. I was in Uganda. Africa is one of my favorite places in the world. And I was in Uganda trekking with the gorillas a few years ago. And my guide was a woman. And she was unbelievable. And she asked me to come outside of the gate of our schwanky resort that we were blessed to be in to go have tea with her and meet her baby son. And I said, of course. And everyone's like, you can't go out of the gate. You can't go. You have to stay here. And I'm like, I have a date with my sister and I'm going to meet her infant son. And I did. And it was unbelievable. She's like, nobody has ever been here. Nobody's been interested to come here. And I said, I'm interested in you. And I gave her a little pair of earrings. And I photographed her and she was just so beautiful. And she looked at me, she goes, I'm going to wear these to church on Sunday. And I said, you know what? You gifted me. You gifted me by guiding me in the forest. You gifted me by being my sister. And you gifted me by welcoming me for tea. It was wonderful. Yeah.
Gosh. I love that. And the reason I do is because I'm going to cry. It's the simple things. It is, what is tea?
Yeah.
And when two people or even a group of people can be in solidarity in the moment around something warm and wonderful like tea or food, or, I happen to be a Christian. I tell people this all the time. That's my faith practice. And so I believe in the table. the table of, just sitting down and talking and being, even though there may be a whole bunch of chaos going on outside. And I find such joy in that. And so you are spreading joy with your jewelry, and it has changed the trajectory of your life. You could have never imagined that you would be where you are at this point. And so when you look into that little tiny kaleidoscope, the one that makes all the wonderful glass and imagery, what do you see?
I see communion with spirit. I'm so many denominations of so many things. I find spirituality is my calling. But I feel that, and I feel just that it's my mission to be in alignment with spirit, to hold up a pillar for the divine feminine. And there's no coincidence I come from 3 girls. There's no coincidence I have 3 girls. And there's no coincidence that my dad left when I was 2, so I didn't have a male role model. It was all women. My grandmother was my best friend. It was all women. And I'm like, and at the time, I always felt, I feel sad I didn't have a dad that was involved in my life, or I felt sad I didn't have a brother or whatever. I really realized that was not my plight. My plight was to be so connected to the divine feminine that I would come forth and I would create pieces that raise the vibration. When women come up to the table and they say, I'm too fat, I'm too old. And I go, no. We don't do that here, because I see the beauty in you. Do you see the beauty in you? And when I was in Canada, I taught modeling for many, many years and modeled. And one of the things I really realized, if women could take a bottle of self-esteem, of self-recognition, and drink it every day and see themselves, it would be different. I don't know what that is, but it's almost like we apologetically don't live our untamed wild self because we want to stay in that, I got to stay safe. I got to stay small. I say big, and I don't want to use a bad word, but I say, freaking get to be that wild, untamed, rich, dynamic self, because the world's waiting. They're waiting for you.
Yes. And the worst thing that could happen is that you go, oh, I don't like this. And you just pick another adventure. I mean, that's really the worst thing that could happen. Kathy, so I want you to talk a little bit about your animal love, because I see you with two, and I love all of the animals, because I believe they were created first for a reason.
I love that. That's for sure.
They're very bright and very wonderful and bring joy, and they have a deep understanding of their connection with the divine, and they never deviate from their purpose. And so they have so much to teach us. But horses and dogs happen to live on in a place in my heart, because there's something about their eyes that you can see so much in them, and the way they interact with us. And all of that. And so speak a little bit about your love for animals, because it's evident in your photographs.
Oh, thank you. Well, I love horses and dogs too. Of course, we connected, and all animals, elephants, I mean, you name it. There's not an animal that I don't feel like I'm not learning from. Yeah. But for me, they represent unconditional love. They represent
copy, yes.
Wisdom, innate wisdom. They also have a deep understanding, like in terms of, if I look at a horse herd, there is always never a male that's dominant. It's always an alpha mare. She's the leader. Always a mare. It's never a gelding or a stallion. It's the mare. And I'm privileged to have some horses at my home, and I watch them. They're herd dynamics, and they are teachers. They are, in fact, my daughter does equus coaching with them, and really deep diving into your own leadership, so you can be the alpha mare in a herd. You can actually communicate with your body language. And dogs, I mean, on my business card was my best friend, and Toulouse, and he has since passed. But he was such a guardian for me. And I
Yeah.
had a really tumultuous upbringing, and I would find refuge in my animals. I would take my cat, my dog, and I would go into this place where I felt safe.
Yeah.
Outside in the family unit, not so much, but in the union with my dog or with my cat, I felt safe. I felt seen. And
Mm.
if we could recognize animals as the sentient beings that they are and care for them and really worship them the way that they and the gifts that they give,
Yeah.
I just think the world would be, we would learn so much, and we'd be in such a better place. But there's a union going on all the time with animals, with
Yes.
humanity, with humans, nature, the natural world is
Yes.
always
Yes.
again communing with us. And I
And
always
they
say
do
that
communicate with us. They really
they
do.
do. I
Yeah.
go, love yourself like your dog loves you.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
love yourself like your dog loves you. And I think that that's why we're only given a short time with dogs,
Oh,
is because dog spelled backwards is God. And it's because they are these little embodiments of spirit.
yep. And they
I
give
feel a lot
so
of,
abundantly. We wear them
oh,
out. We wear
I,
them out. But I just
I
recently
know.
lost my little alpha here, and in February, February 19th to be exact. And yeah, and I did a sermon the Sunday after he passed away, and I said, if we could only be as loyal to each other as dogs are loyal to the people who bring them into their homes, because not all dog owners are loyal to those to the love of a pet. But even in his dying, he kept looking at myself, my son, and my daughter, because we did a wonderful spiritual ritual at the even the vet had to write me and say, I've never seen that done. I've never heard anybody tell a dog to cross over, and that you'd see him later, and he never heard that. And I was just, I loved this dog. Of course, the dog came for the kids left, and I had the dog, right? My buddy. And but I felt this overwhelming need to let him know he had done a good job. I'm tearing up. That he had done a good job. And I'm sorry, you guys, but I loved him. Yeah, I loved him.
So beautiful, Michelle. I
Yeah,
am when I'm
yeah,
working with my
and to tell anyone as you walk in their lives, thank you. To look up at people at Starbucks when they're asking you for their name, asking you for your name, and you don't look at their name tag and thank them. Take a moment to just be human, because it will lift you up in places that you will never even imagine. Unlike you, Kathy, I cry at everything. Michelin tire commercials with the baby inside. I'm like, oh, that's the cutest baby. Oh.
yeah,
But they're not always tears of sadness. They are tears of cleansing. They are tears of joy. I always tell people, don't apologize to anybody if you cry.
it's so beautiful. You know, Michelle, when my little dog Toulouse was passing, we did a ceremony. And I had a friend of mine who had this beautiful instrument from
Oh,
Senegal.
Senegal.
It's
Yeah.
Senegal, yeah. And it's called a kora. And he was playing the instrument. And one of my dearest friends, who's a vet, was there helping him transition. And my husband and my daughter, and we were all holding him. And he was 9.5, and I looked at him and I said, thank you for enriching my life. And my dear friend, who's the vet, said she was recently having to assist a horse crossing over. And this young woman was crying, and she goes, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. And she said, how about thank you?
Mhm.
Thank you for that life, whatever that is. Thank you for like you said about being, thank you, Susie, for the coffee at Starbucks, or thank
Yes.
you thank you so much. And gratitude for whatever that gift is, that touchdown. You know,
Yeah.
Toulouse he didn't really like many people, but boy, he loved
Neither
me.
did Alpha.
And that was okay.
That's
That
okay.
was our contract, you know? It was our contract. He was my guardian, you know, and it's okay. But thank you, Toulouse, for the gift of the love.
Yeah.
Thank you for the laughter, the joy, the walks, the sitting at the ocean, and he loved the water, and just thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. Well, we have come to the end of our time together. I could talk to you all day. And one last thing, I noticed that you from time to time either engage, or I'm not sure how it happens, but there's retreats that you are engaged and involved in. Is that something that people who are listening or watching this podcast can be engaged with? How do they do that? Do they have to go through something to do that?
You know what? Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention, because that's something that I want to. I have not yet started a blog on my Wix account. You could subscribe to me on Wix, or you can write into me at Kathy_Kamei@comcast.net. And I just actually did an animal communication retreat at my farm here. I'm located close to Santa Barbara. Okay. And we also have another retreat coming up for a leadership retreat for women with horses. That's coming up in September. And for anybody who's interested, please reach out to Michelle or reach out to me at Kathy_Kamei@comcast.net, or go onto my website, like I said, kathykamei.com, and you can contact me there. But I really believe when I bought this farm 3 years ago, I knew that I bought it to share. And I really want to bring in, when I was in Orlando at this women's retreat, this woman said to me, I was talking about, because I've got donkeys and horses and dogs. And she goes,
can I come?
She goes, I don't know anything about this. She goes, have you ever done retreats? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I have one coming up, but I never thought, because I lived this life with donkeys and horses, I never thought that people didn't understand it. And I'm like, I am really looking to outreach more to women that really can benefit from any of the retreats that are happening. Our farm is called Soul Farm. Okay. And it's about enriching the soul of each one of us divine goddesses. So there's more to come. And Michelle, I will keep you privy to that information.
Please, because I'd love to even connect with you to do maybe a retreat together. I would love to do something.
We're doing a retreat together. We are doing it.
We're doing a retreat together.
Thank you, Spirit. It's already happening. You and I are doing one. Let's go, girl. I'm ready.
We're going to do it. Yeah. So my friends, my siblings, my family of Life is a Sacred Journey, you're all over the world. I love you for the messaging that you send me. My family in Moldova, I am thinking about you and praying that the Ukraine madness will end soon, and that people will not try to overpower you because you are a gentle, kind, loving family, and I love you. And so I pray for the safety. We pray for the safety of all those folks that are in any war-torn place. You know that I always end my podcast in this way. Today, we talked about light. We talked about change. We talked about joy, happiness, all of the things that when we're on the journey of life, we're trying to grab along the way, right? But there are those of us out there that right now are feeling like the world is the worst place that you could have come to. Kathy and I both have experienced a great deal of pain in our lives. And I have to tell you, there was a time that I did contemplate suicide in my life. Very much so. I thought the world would be better off without me. But I overcame that moment through the universal spirit. And I'm here to tell you, life is worth living. There'll be somebody along the way that will lift you up and give you a hand. It may not be the person you think. It may not be your family. It may not be your best friend. But the universe will send you somebody that will help you along the way. Please hang on. The suicide hotline number is 1-800-273-8255. You can text them, you can call them 24/7. There'll be a kind voice, a loving voice that will walk with you, that will talk with you, that will not tell you that you're bad, that you deserve all that angst. And know that you are divinely, magnificently made, no matter what somebody has done or said to you. That's the gift we give you, Kathy and I, this morning. 1-800-273-8255. Write it down, get your lipstick, put it on the mirror. I don't care how you do it. 1-800-273-8255. And if you're a person out there that sees the pain in another person, stop ignoring them. Help them. Smile at them. Say, how you doing? Your how you're doing might stop them from going and cutting themselves. Stop acting like a solo act. This is not a solo journey. The only solo things you do is to get here and leave. And even that you don't, because people come back to take your bill over. Okay? So you don't do it. That there's no solo. Kathy Kamei has beautiful jewelry that has a wonderful meaning. She's living her life. She's living her purpose. She's reaching out to all of us to say, let's do this together. Be the change, be the light, be the love, quadruple your life, double life, all those things. So go to the website. I'll see you at one of her retreats. Have a wonderful weekend. Go out and hug a tree. You know what I tell you, hug that tree. And then sit down and read to the tree. And then get quiet and listen to the tree's response. I'm going to do that tomorrow. So if you're in my forest, I hope I see you there. Pet a cat, pet a dog, talk to the universe. It'll be all right. We will get through this together. Kathy Kamei, you are a wonderful spirit within this world. I am so thankful that we're on the same yellow brick road together. I am. You are my new sister friend. And if you would hold on for 1 minute, I just want to say to all of you, have a great weekend. Take care of yourself. Wear your mask, okay? Stop here. If you're going out of the house and you're with strangers, put this stupid thing on. We are now in another wave of the pandemic because we stopped wearing this. It's okay if you're around your family and in your local Scooby-Doo, but if you're going in an Ace Hardware store, could you please put your mask on so we can get out of this pandemic and get forward, not back, but get forward to a new reality. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourself. Peace.
Peace.
Yes.